Hello, gorgeous souls. Oh my gosh. Welcome. Welcome to God Winks. I am so excited for today's episode. And before we get started, I'd love to invite you to drop into your heart. You can close your eyes if that feels comfortable or keep them open. I'm inviting you to drop into your heart. And as you drop into your heart, I want you to feel your heart beating. And take a breath in through your nose. And sigh it out, let it go. Take another deep breath in. Even louder sigh. And every breath that you take in, imagine that your heart is expanding. And with every breath, you allow your heart to grow bigger, growing the electromagnetic field around your heart. You're becoming aware of the field of your heart, the pulsation, the frequency. Your heart is emitting frequencies. So feel the frequency of your heart. And take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Open the mouth wide and let it out. And if your eyes are closed, stay here for a moment and just be. And if your eyes are open, if you're driving or unable to stay focused, just know that you're doing this with your presence. And I just want to invite you into a moment of pausing, of being. Nowhere to go, nothing else to think about. Just allow yourself to drop all what you have to do for now. You can pick it back up later. You can pick up those thoughts. You can pick up the to-do list. Even if it's just 30 seconds of just being. Give yourself that time. Notice any sounds that you hear. Notice any smells that you smell. Notice any sensations you feel. Notice if there's pain or tension or even anxiousness, pressure, discomfort. Just become aware. How do you feel inside of your body? And as you become aware, become the observer of the awareness. Witness the witnesser. Become aware of your thoughts. Become aware of your emotions. Can you be the witnesser to what you are seeing, feeling, hearing, experiencing? And allow yourself to rest deeper into that awareness. And whenever a thought comes up, just watch it. Maybe try to grab a hold of it and see it all the way through. Instead of trying to make them go away, just watch. And see what happens. And again, bring yourself back to the presence of being, becoming the witnesser, the one that is aware, and allow yourself to drift deeper into that presence, into this state of being. And let's take one more deep breath in. And let it all out. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Welcome back. Welcome in. Welcome forward. It's important to find these moments of stillness. And it's important to come back to the breath, come back to presence, come back to that space as the witnesser, as the observer. And I went there on purpose, specifically for the topic that I will be talking about today. And it's our ability to actually sit at the seat of consciousness, to empty ourselves, not being attached to the thoughts, not being attached to the emotions, not being attached to the ego's identity, but learning to find, not necessarily find, because that's such a mental thing, and this is going to be a practice where your ability to enter that state of being isn't going to come from the how. Because you can talk your way out of it, you can logic your way out of it, because it's not a logic thing, it's a presence thing. Because when we're talking about the art of creation, how still can you get? How still can you get? How present can you get? How much can you be? How much can you just be? So I'm excited to dive into the art of creation today on God Winks. I'm so excited because I am building this podcast as I go. And I sometimes just get the burst of inspiration to just go and make a video, and my process so far is going live on YouTube and recording an episode and then downloading it and uploading it to Spotify. I'm just finding the way that feels right for me, which is not what I had thought I would do as I was creating this podcast, but I'm just finding the way that is the least resistant path for me to make it happen, right? And not even for me to make it happen. It's like what feels like my path. And sometimes we look at other people and like, well, they do it this way and they do it that way. And so we copy and paste and do what other people do. And then you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to do it my way. That feels good for me. And so this is my way. And today is a special day for many, many reasons. One, I created the God Winks trailer that was so fun creating. And I've made a commitment to God that there would be no AI, there would be like no filters, none of that. It would just be raw. And so I made everything from Canva on that video, and I just tuned into that source of creation, that sweet spot where I know I find that deep presence of essence of my soul. And I connect to God Winks, the creation that is God Winks, the consciousness that is God Winks. And I allow that to be what comes through. And so I created that today, and it was really fun and it was really beautiful. And I share all of that with you because the creation process is an art, and we are the vessel. We are the paintbrush that God wants to use, and it's up to us to surrender into that process. And when I was creating the well, at first I wasn't going to create a trailer. I was just going to create a mini video and add in my words for my introduction for this podcast. And it ended up taking me down this rabbit hole where I just started to bring in all of these different videos and beautiful clips of nature. And I have been just, nature for me is everything, and we are human nature, and I just keep deepening in my own relationship with nature, and it just flew. It just created in its own way, and by the next 2 hours there, I had my trailer. I didn't write out or prepare the script for for the trailer. I just said, God, I want you to give me the words that you want for this podcast that really creates the foundation for what this is meant to be. And the more that we set the intention of being that space, that emptiness for creation then uses us in the most magical ways. And it was so beautiful and profound to witness this creation get done within 2 hours. And so I love being able to share this with you because I am building things as I go here. I am dropping into this space, truly being a vessel for God, being a vessel for truth to come through me, through this vessel that love wants to come through. And this is part of our ability to co-create with God. And I have been on this journey for some time, and it has taken me time, and I'm telling you, it's not always going to be perfect. But the more that I step back into that present awareness as the observer, and I bring myself and catch myself and present myself in that state of consciousness, in that state of presence and beingness, I'm connected to the present moment. I'm connected to all there is, meaning I am connected to God, and I'm connected to my heart. And so today is about the art of creation. And I'm excited to talk about the art of creation because it's actually quite beautiful. It is a process. It is surrendering. It is coming up against our own things. Like I had mentioned in the first episode, I had many of my own judgments when God put this podcast in my dreams and create God Winks podcast. I had all of these egoic expectations and desires and ways that I thought it should be and ways that I thought I should make it more digestible and more in a specific niche because it's not in a niche. And I am creating this intentional space to break all of the places of separation in society. There is separation and division like never before. And we create separation through the identities that we have. We create separation through the judgments. We create separation through the blaming, the shaming, the left and right, the Christianity and the New Age or Muslim, right? And this isn't to say that any of that is bad. So please hear me when I say that, because this is merely observation. It's just what's happening. And we live in this 3D reality that has a duality to it. There is the feeling of right or wrong. That is the part of this reality, is the right or the wrong, black or white. That's very logical, linear thinking. But we are so much more than these linear 3D meat suits. We are limitless souls. We are the creation that created this universe. And we are just different fractals of light experiencing light in this body. So we're all from the same source. And so while that is part of our journey, it's also important that we honor the duality of our existence as well. We do judge. That's part of being human. That's part of how the brain functions. It's just, what do we do with those judgments? Do we attach to them? Or do we just notice them, become aware of them, and let them go? And what happens is that the ego is the one that stays attached to judgments, because that is what is being processed and experienced and projected through our own wounds, through our own experiences, through our own perceptions. And so we'll judge based on things that we have not healed inside of ourselves. That's why we need each other. That's why we're in this co-creation of life together, so that we can help each other be reflections and mirrors to what is inside of us that we have yet to love, what we have yet to heal, what we have yet to see and appreciate inside of ourselves. And that's why when you start to raise your vibration and you start to open up your consciousness and you start to expand the aperture of your consciousness, you start to see through a higher lens, not so much through the 3D, black or white, or right or wrong. You start to see through a higher lens where you see the order in all of it. You start to see that everything really is connected. And this is really important, because when you see something bad or good, but you see that bad thing ends up changing someone's life for the good, then how can we say that that was bad to begin with? Again, breaking down the lens of duality. In 2020, I was sexually assaulted. And this might be triggering to some people, but it was the best thing that happened to me. The worst thing that happened to me. And by all means, I do not want that to happen to anybody ever. And from that experience, it cracked me open to let God in. It cracked open my heart and my mission and my soul. I quit drinking. I left my 9 to 5. I started a business, and I went and I started going down this spiritual healing journey and started to realize that I needed to be the voice for the voiceless. My pain became my purpose. My pain became the way in which I support others to alchemize their pain. We don't have to be victims of our circumstances. That's a choice. We get to choose in this life, and that's why we get to break the attachments and the mentality of right or wrong, so that we can see from that higher perspective, so that we can see how we choose to make it mean. So for me, when I was in that hospital room, I had already trained my mind to seeing life happening for me. So when I was in the room waiting to get the rape exam, I said, life is happening for me, not to me. Life is happening for me, not to me. And I was crying, feeling the pain. And I said at the time, universe, I don't know how, but I have to believe that there's something beautiful inside of this. I know this has to happen for me, and what is it? And it was instantaneous that God's grace blessed upon me in that moment and gave me my mission, gave me my purpose. It was in that moment when I felt this realization. It truly was a blessing from God, because I felt it in the room right before the exam, this calling that I was here to help people heal. That the reason why I went through this was so that I knew what kind of pain this was, so I could help others and reach them in the depth of their pain. I could have easily stayed the victim. I could have easily, and rightfully so, been the victim. But I transformed every area of my life, and I have not looked back. And now I've helped hundreds of people heal. I've done thousands of healing sessions, events, retreats, serving in the highest way to help other people overcome what they've been through. I've helped people through grief, through loss, through divorce, through rekindling marriages, losing children, to creating the life of their dreams, to writing books, going and speaking on stages, to starting businesses, to starting over, to loving themselves, healing their body. The miracles are endless. And so if I have this capacity to transform my pain, so does the rest of the world. There's nothing special about me other than the fact that I chose a different story. I chose to create with it instead of being a victim from it. And so this is part of the art of creation, because you are co-creating with life. We all are. We're all co-creating together. We're all here in this life, here to play a game. And how do you want to play this game? Because you are the creator, the architect, the author. And it also comes with deep surrender of letting go of your own expectations of what you think it's going to look like. Because it's a dance between the masculine and the feminine, the water and the fire, the structure and the flow. It's the both and. That's why it's the duality of life. And so our ability to hold and create that space inside of us for us to be able to have the capacity to hold it is where you come back to that presence inside of you, that space of being the witnesser, the observer, where you can see it all, but you're not attached to either one. You're not saying it's right or wrong, but you can hold right or wrong. You are the space where you get to hold the duality, where it's black or white, light, dark. You get to be that vessel that holds for it all, and that's creation. Creation is learning how to dance in the masculine structures with the feminine flow, and your ability to merge both of them inside of you is that unity where you start to connect again deeper in that embodiment with God. And God is always winking at you. God is always trying to reach you. There's never a moment in your life where God is not there. There's not a moment where your soul and God are co-creating this experience of life. So that's why when you look at life as it happening for you, you see all these things have a purpose. They have a purpose, and you get to decide the meaning. You can say this is the end or this is the beginning. That's the power that you have as a creator. So you may go through things that you don't want to go through, but instead of why is this happening to me, why is this happening for me? And when you start to look at life as that lens, that's when the inspiration in spirit comes in to show you the way through. And you may not know all the way. All you need is the very next step. And that's why I love this creation of God Winks, because I don't know where it's going. But I'm fully surrendering into what wants to be birthed through me and collaborated with others, where I share my journey with you, and you'll hear other people's journeys of their own walks with God and their own stories of how they've gone through pain or gone through struggle or turmoil or loss and have been able to use that as fuel. And that's the secret, is your ability to be within your sovereignty as a co-creator of life. So with that being said, bring yourself back to that part within yourself, that space within yourself where you just be. Just be. Just be. And rest as you're watching this, as you're listening to this. Hear my words. Feel my words of what it means and feel like to just be. We live in a world that is so hyper active, very noisy. And I've spent the last 3 months disconnected from social media, from all sorts of outlets. I mean, I don't watch the news regardless. I end up hearing what I need to hear when I need to hear it. And let me tell you the joy, the peace that I found not being on social media. I also found peace because I stopped performing and stopped doing. And God, I know all this year, actually the last few years, has been saying to me, can you be still? Can you please be still? Let me take away the money. Let me take away the clients. Let me take away the business. Let me take away all the things so that you don't distract yourself from what I really need you to do, which is be. And what's profound is that if you can see, because one of the things that happened was like my money went down drastically, but it was so profound, the level of trust and safety I felt, even though I didn't know how money was going to come in. I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. There was a trust fall into God's arms like I've never felt before. It was like, all I need to do is just be right now. There's nothing else for me to do. And I know that if there's nothing else for me to do, then everything will be taken care of. Because I know I'm doing what exactly I need to do, and that's to do nothing. Because if we're worried about where the money's coming from, then we are not allowing ourselves to be. We're back in the doing. We're back in the have-tos. We're back into, I have to figure this out by myself. Very mental, very logical, very fear-based ways of being, which are also very natural. So it's part of being human, and that's why we have to practice conscious presence, conscious being, becoming aware of those thoughts, of those emotions, of those feelings, and holding space for ourselves when it comes up. I've had so many moments of panic with money, what I was going to do, all my life. And so your ability to just sit with yourself, notice what happens in your body when you just become still, when you become present. Take a deep breath in and out. In and out. For me, I find that place of my essence right at the seat of my heart. It's inside of my body. It's in the seat of my heart. That's where I connect to my essence. That's where I connect to my soul. Like that's where I feel like I'm taking a seat back and I'm sitting at the seat of my heart. And I'm sitting, observing this world called life. Kelsey Grace Hall's life. And I watch my personality. I watch my ego. And the more that I do that, the more I train myself to let that lead, which is a very important part of creation, because we can let our soul lead or let our ego lead. I've had my ego lead a lot. And again, very natural human thing to do, right? There's no shame, there's no judgment. It's just the art of creation, learning to become present. And the biggest piece of this whole thing, of this whole conversation, is presence. Because presence is the here and the now. That's where God is. God is right here, right now. God is talking to you in this present moment, right here, whispering, loving you, holding you, guiding you. But if you're in the past or the future, you're anxious or you're worried, you're not here. You're somewhere else. You're in the mind, out of the body, disconnected from the soul. So that's why when you can be the witnesser, then you actually start to rest in the space of creation. Because creation is this ever-expanding present moment that is evolving multidimensionally through us. And so your ability to catch yourself from the past, from the future, to be present inside, to sit in the seat of your heart, to witness this life, you start to remember your power. And when you remember your power, you find this deep level of peace. And that peace is sovereignty. Peace of creation. You can be within the chaos, the big bang of life, but still remaining fully present, fully peaceful, fully sovereign within yourself. Being part of the chaos as creation, you surrender and you start to move and you start to go in these ways and you start to follow this flow that wants to come through you. You are the masculine and the feminine energies. You're listening and moving at the same time, but it comes from being present, being still, becoming aware, catching the judgments. Notice where the ego wants to attach. Notice where the ego wants to justify. Notice where the ego wants to project. And when you can start to become aware of your psyche, and you're sitting at the seat of your heart, of your essence, and you start to lead from there, that's when you start to allow the ego to be a co-creator with you. It requires training. It takes practice. This is not an overnight success thing. I am working on this. I have gotten better. And there's still a lot of room to go. Where I'm at in my current life, this is my main practice every single day. I have alarms. I have an alarm that goes off at 3 p.m. and it says presence. And then it goes off every 15 minutes and I'm pulling myself back to that seat, back to that seat, back to that essence, back to that moment. Every 15 minutes I'm pulling myself there. Because I'm making a muscle that no matter what's going on in my life, I can bring myself back to that moment and I can learn to live there. And I'm getting better at it. Not perfect at all. But that's why it's an art. It's like, ooh, I see that trigger that's coming up. Oh my gosh, I want to scream and yell and throw something at this person. Can I witness that anger and honor that anger? And how does this anger now want to be alchemized? What boundaries do I need to create? How can I hold space for my anger? How can I learn to channel it into creation? And that presence is a superpower. Because then you start to develop a self-mastery over your emotions, and emotions are what creates in this life. And so your ability to co-create is through your emotional capacity. That's why we have to go so deep and far down into the dark, lower vibrating emotions for us to reach the higher vibrational emotions like joy, like love, and authenticity. And when we start to allow ourselves to reach these higher states of consciousness and embodiments and frequencies of emotional expressions, and we create authentically through the flows of all emotions, then again, we're like the river, co-creating, flowing down. Can you be like water? Can you be so fluid in what you believe? Can you be so fluid in your identity? Can you be so fluid with life that when life hits you, you just dance with it? You start to move with it. You say, "Ooh, okay, let me go like this." I just got hit in the stomach. Okay, woo, let me take in the punch. Instead of being a brick wall, be like water. Let it move you. Oh, okay, I see you. I'm going to be like a peach. I'm not going to be like an egg. When you drop me, I goo all over words if I'm an egg, but if I'm a peach, I'm still rock solid inside. I'm just a little bruised and still cute and juicy when you bite me. And that's how you learn to be in this present awareness, finding that seat within your heart, to see and experience, to be the essence of your soul and connecting to that and letting God, source, universe guide you through it. And so that's where you start to become aware of your whole surroundings. That's when you start to see God's winks, because God is speaking to you through all sorts of different languages, and it's not English. The plants, people, experiences, numbers, everything. God speaks to you beyond the logical mind, because we are multidimensional beings. That's why we have intuition. That is the greatest gift that we all have, that we all get to sharpen, that we all get to feel and fine tune. And that's a gift that God gave us, because God wants to speak and move through us. So it comes from in here. So how can you, this week, today, integrate a practice of presence, of just being, doing nothing, sitting at the heart within your soul and accessing that state of being? It's not even a how-to, it's just allowing yourself to be. Can you rest in awareness and be the loving awareness that is there? Because there is an awareness behind all the thoughts. And the more that you practice being in that state, the more you will just be. And when you are be, you are uniting with creation frequency. That's when you can hear what it wants to create through you. So that's why when you create yourself to be an empty vessel, then creation can finally come through you. Then the truth of who you are can finally come through you. But if you're attached to all of these identities and labels and judgments and ways of being, and you have a kung fu grip, there's nothing that can get through. But if you let go and soften the grip a little bit, then there's more of a fluidity that can come through. It's a game, baby. And it takes practice. It takes conscious awareness. And how freaking awesome is it that the simplest way to start doing this is to do nothing. Create spaciousness to sit and be, and notice what happens. Notice what comes up. Notice the thoughts. Notice the uncomfortable sensations of like, oh my gosh, I have all these things I need to do. What am I doing sitting here doing nothing? Yes, see that. Feel that. Notice the addictions that you have to doing. Notice the addictions you have to social media, or cooking, or avoiding, or numbing. Yes. See it all. You will see it all. But I'm telling you, it is the gateway to peace. It is the gateway to liberation. Because when you can sit within that awareness that you are not this or that, then you remember that you are truly the I am. That then becomes the source of creation as you, through you, together. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I would love to hear how this starts to play in your life. Let me know what landed. I'd love to hear from anybody that is connecting with this, and even after a couple days or even a week, like, notice what happens in your body and your life just by finding presence and creating that spaciousness. Maybe you have less anxiety, or maybe you notice that you have a lot of anxiety and you didn't realize you had so much because you have been distracting yourself from actually feeling. So it could go either way. But either way is perfect, because it's all information. Keep finding stillness and you will access the art of creation and the creation frequency that wants to birth through you, because you are the canvas, you are the paintbrush, and God wants to paint with you. That's it, baby. Thank you so much for joining me today in God Winks. Please share this if you feel that if you thought of anyone during this episode, please share it with your friends, share it with your family. I want to have as many people hearing conversations like this, because we can all use a little bit more presence, especially in the noisy world that we live in. So I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your love. And have the most magical, beautiful day.